All right, it's 7:30. Steve, you ready? Okay, I'd like to call the regular monthly meeting of July 22nd, 2021 to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Barbarulo. Here. Mrs. Favelovich. Here. Mr. Itkin.
Here.
Mrs. Mahan. Present. Ms. Quackenbush.
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Here.
Mr. Santana.
Here.
Mr. Spindell.
Present.
Mr. Banta.
Here. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and turn the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Fair Lawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Record and the Star Ledger. The announcement posting for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, time, and place thereof, was distributed on July 15, 2021. The items to be discussed during closed work session of July 22nd, 2021, regular monthly meeting may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations, and/or grievances, and tactics and techniques utilized in protecting public safety and property. The results of these discussions will be made public as soon as possible. Would you join me in a flag salute? Okay, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Garcia. Are there any comments from the superintendent? No? Okay, no comments. Thank you. Then I'm going to open it up to the public for comments on agenda items only. Just step up to the microphone, state your name and street, but not your house number.
Lisa, you're. Lisa Yorman, 66 Nottingham Road in Fairlawn. I have two agenda items.
Speak up a little bit.
Two agenda items, S1, retirement of Simone Palumbo. I want to congratulate him on his 37 years of service, and he was there when my kids were there, and he was an amazing individual, and I congratulate him on his service and wish him all well for his retirement. Item F6D, approval of subscription busing for parents' rates for the 2021-22 school year. I apologize, I was not available for the Monday meeting where you discussed this, but I did find some fault in some of the facts of what was said by Mr. Banta with reference to free busing in Fairlawn on the south side and on the north side.
Lisa, can you talk a little louder?
Somebody's got to turn up the mic. I'm doing their best. It's right next to my mouth.
That's better.
Okay. So I go back 48 years from living on the south side of Broadway, 12 South Broadway. I got free busing to middle school, and I got free busing to the high school. And everyone in the surrounding areas got free busing. Around the year, and that was in the 70s,
F1D,
1973 to 1977.
no, F6D. 36.
So there are parents that are in free busing zone, and the way the law reads, and I did run some facts. It says, in accordance with state law NJSA 18A:39-1, all public elementary students grades K through 8 will live no more than 2 miles from their school, or public secondary school grades 9 through 12 who live more than 2.5 miles from the school are entitled to transportation.
30 seconds.
These students are said to live remote from school, and it goes on to say that. So you can do your homework on the south side. I'm going to do it on the north side right now. I live at 66 Nottingham Road. In 2004 into 5, we fought with the district to get busing from the north side on Nottingham Road. Nottingham Road is about as far north as you can get to Glen Rock. There are a numerous amount of kids that live there right now at the end of the cul-de-sac that go to TJ and do not receive any type of busing at all. And my house was at 1.9, and it brought us to a door that was behind a closed, non-accessible door in the backside by Phillip Street. And then when we said you have to go to an accessible door, according to NJSA 18839, they offered us free busing on a special ed bus because my child had an IP for a chronic lung disease. And then he went on the regular bus because he didn't want to go on the special ed bus, and he was basically called a sped. And that's, I'm putting that in quotes because that's what the child said, and my son refused to go on the special ed bus ever again. But when you run Google Maps, it's 2 miles even, but it does not count from the street to the front door, which is in NJ 39. I'm at the T Square. There is a...
Mrs. Yorman, I'm going to give you another
There-
minute, and then I'm going to respond.
There, when you come into my house, I'm at the T. You go to the left, that's toward Glen Rock. You go to the right, and there's a huge cul-de-sac about 2 blocks down. And there are people in the cul-de-sac that would qualify. It would be over it would be 2.1 mile or more, and it would be qualified for free busing. And I talked to one of my neighbors. We have something in common as far as I always get his packages, he always gets mine. And I talked to him, and I asked him if he had kids in TJ Middle School, and were they getting busing, and he said no. And I said, would you like to get it? And he said, absolutely. And he has himself and 2 neighbors on either side. So there's definitely free busing here. I don't know, you can do your due diligence, but there's definitely free busing where parents should not have to be paying for busing according to the law.
Okay, Mrs. Yorman, your time is up. I will respond and tell you that, yes, there used to be free busing on the south side of Broadway, and there might have been free busing in other parts of town, but that was back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s when the distance was measured by the wheel. So somebody would actually stand there, walk the distance, and measure it with the wheel, and it would come up, 1.8, 2.1, whatever it is. In the late 2000 teens, a computer program came out, which we are using, which state approved, and punching in all those addresses on the south side of Broadway, they're all less than 2 miles walking distance pursuant to the computer program. Google Maps is not what we use. We used a computer program that was developed and approved by the state. So once we did that, we realized there were very few, if any, free busing students left in the district. So that is why. And plus, the people that didn't qualify on the south side of Broadway, they're the ones that asked to be, could we pay for a bus? And we said yes. So that's what we're doing. So now nobody on the south side of Broadway qualifies under the statute. And I have done my due diligence, and we did the computer, and I reread the statute myself the other day. So we're completely in compliance. And if people want to come from the south side of Broadway, they want to get the bus, we're going to have 108 seats each way to both schools. And that's how it's going to work. So thank you.
So I just want to add one thing, if I could.
Quickly.
Okay, you're saying 108 seats? There was a phrase when my kids were in school, it was called 54, close the door. So it would be 54 seats and then...
2 buses of 54 each.
For 2 buses of 54 each to each school.
Yes.
And do you know how many people are eligible?
Brooke, do you know how many
Or
people
who
are
have
eligible?
requested?
It's less than 208. That's the max. I think it's like 189 or something. Well, but we'll look into it. But it's close to 200.
But you're saying all on the south side of Broadway, they're all within either 2.5 miles or 2 miles of...
Yes.
Every single one of them.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you. Any other members of the audience? What was the question? The north side? No, nobody on the north side either. Okay. Well, you're certainly entitled to your opinion, but
You
the computer
guys may-
program says otherwise, and I'm not going to argue about it.
I'm not
You-
arguing.
yeah, you are.
No, in 2005, you measured it.
The computer program says nobody's eligible. I don't know how to make it any
Do you
clearer
know the
than that.
name of the program?
Do you know the name of the program, bro? What? Versatran.
What is that? I'm sorry.
Versatran.
And does it go to a publicly accessed entry?
I don't know. Have public access. It might be proprietary. I don't know.
No, I'm saying, is it going to be a locked door, or is it going to be the main door?
What? I didn't understand it.
Okay, so when you measured from my house to TJ, you measured to a locked door, and you said this is 1.9
The computer
miles.
program does whatever the statute tells it to do. Okay, but I'm not going to go back and forth with you. You
No,
can
no,
disagree
no,
with me.
I'm
That's
good.
fine.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I'll do my due diligence.
Any other members of the audience like to speak
Mis-
on the agenda items?
Mr. President, I have a point of order.
What is your point of
We
order?
have a policy, we have a board policy that we don't time the public when they speak unless the public portion will go over 30 minutes. So I think it will be wise to ask who else would like to talk, and if no
That's what
one
I
else
just
wants to
asked.
talk, according to our board policy, we're not supposed to time people when they speak unless it's gonna go over 30 minutes, in which case you have the prerogative of limiting it to 3 or 5 minutes, if I'm correct.
Well, I have no idea how many other people would like to speak, so I don't want to use the entire 30 minutes for Mrs. Yorman. And if somebody else would like to speak, well, speak now. And
Okay,
then
no-
Mrs. Yorman can come back up again.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're following our board policies.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? No other members of the public. Mrs. Yorman, would you like to speak again? On any agenda item?
Would I be able to request through an Oprah,
All I heard was
the
Oprah.
map? The map of where everybody sits in accordance with their school.
You want a map of where all the students live?
Well, this.
I
The
don't think
houses-
so. I
No,
don't think
no,
we
no,
can
no,
give out
no,
that
That's
information.
not what I'm asking. The
What map are you
the-
looking? I don't know.
Okay, so
I'm not-
this Versatron,
What?
this program that you're talking about. I don't have it.
Program, yes.
The program that you're talking about, how does it present the material to the person reading it?
Mrs. Can you hear me okay? Good.
Yeah?
Mrs. Yerman,
Yeah.
would it be easier if maybe you emailed us your question and we could look into
Well,
it and
I-
get back to you?
Well, no, I said if I ask either Oprah or otherwise, is there a map that says, okay, this is the perimeter? I don't know how this program reads, so I'm just asking you if I ask for the information of how it's mapped out.
You
How-
can ask for the information, and if it's public information and it's available, we'll give it to you.
Well, I'm asking you, is it public information for me to know what the perimeters are from each of the schools?
What do you mean? Oh, the map for each elementary school?
No, for,
You said the perimeters. I'm not
like, so if
understanding what you
you
mean.
have TJ, the front door of TJ, and you have to go out 2 miles, do you have something from this computer program that says 2 miles out, circulates,
Now, you
past
plug in the
Fairlawn
address of
borders?
TJ and I guess the closest door, and you plug in the address of the student, and that tells you. It's not like a compass, the one with a point and a pencil. It's not like that. It's 2 miles walking distance, and the computer program calculates it. I can't tell you anything other different than that.
So it's basically you put the address in, you put the address of the student in, and that tells you whether they qualify or not.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, seeing no other comments from the public, board members' comments? Oh, all right, Google Forum is open, there's no comments. It's been open since the beginning of the meeting. Board members, questions, comments? Rita?
Speak up, please.
Can you hear me now?
Speak up.
Okay, I have a question for the attorney on E1. Since my name is on the agenda for the workshops, can I vote on it, or do I have to abstain since I benefit from it?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Good evening.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now?
What's the question, Rita? P1?
E1.
Yes, you just abstained from your name.
Is that the attorney? Are you okay with that?
The question is if you have a conflict, whether or not you should.
If I can vote on it because it's on the agenda.
Okay.
I
Yes.
just-
Yes.
But do I have to abstain, and I say abstain my name, or how do I vote for it? I'm new, so I don't know what I'm.
I'm new too. Good evening. You ought to abstain from your name, from your approval.
Okay, so when I vote, I'll say E1 and abstain and say my name. Is that the correct way?
You're going to abstain from that motion only as it applies to you. If you want to vote yes for everyone else, you can.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
For P5C, page 16, I emailed the superintendent the question, the following question. The district approved 7 people to do the pre-K curriculum writing during the last board meeting.
I can't understand a word you're saying. I didn't get the number, I didn't, and,
Is this better? Can you hear me now?
yeah.
Yes,
What-
okay.
What page?
P5C, page 16. I emailed.
Okay.
I emailed the superintendent, I emailed this question to the superintendent. The district approved 7 people to do a pre-K curriculum writing during the last board meeting. Why is the district approving another person? The response I get is we are adding another person due to the increasing pre-K numbers and need additional support. I'm a little confused. Can you please clarify whether the curriculum is written based on the number of students or the content of the material? Thank you.
Did you understand what she? Mrs. DeFranco, can you answer that, please? I don't think you do.
What page was that, Rita?
Page 16. P5C E11.
What page is it in our book?
I just want to.
P5C E11.
The pre-K curriculum writing, that's what you're asking about.
Yes, why are
Okay.
we adding another person? And based on the
Can you hear me?
response, it seems like it says,
It's page 19 in the book. Mrs. DeFranco, as soon as she gets her mic working, will be answering questions. Okay. Mrs. DeFranco, would you please
Yes.
answer the question?
I hope I have the last part of your question. I might need you to repeat again because I didn't quite hear it. But the response that was given is that we have increasing pre-K numbers by the day, and we need to update our curriculum. It is a new curriculum, and we're adding people to that. We need to pay them for their time to come in over the summer. We were given a concession by the company that we didn't have to pay for this additional person at the workshop. However, we need to pay them per district because it's during summertime. And the more staff that we have trained in this curriculum, the better we are going to be able to implement this new curriculum starting in September.
I'm sorry, I have a follow-up question. I'm a little confused. It
Okay.
says curriculum writing, it doesn't say curriculum training. Writing means you write the curriculum, training means I listen to whatever.
Right, both are occurring because with special education, we always need to modify curriculum simultaneously. So that's why we need to pay them for this time.
Okay. Okay, I have another question. Can you please provide the rationale for not providing a discount for families for free or reduced lunch? It's for FD6, the $670 for the busing, especially since we have an equity initiative that we started last year.
You want to know why we're charging $670 for the
No.
busing?
No, that's not my question. My question is the following, again.
Oh, well, you know, it's,
Do you want me to?
Nick, you want to answer that? Mr. Norcia is going to answer that.
Hi. in the past, we discussed this during our finance meeting last week, correct, about the free and reduced lunch students. Historically, in the past, free and reduced lunch students paid the same as everybody else when it came to subscription busing. However, if there is somebody that does have a hardship, I would ask that they reach out to us and we can look at it on a case-by-case basis, see if we can work with them.
Okay, but I have a question, but don't we have an equity initiative where we want everyone to have the same, oh, can you hear me? Yeah?
I
Don't
can
we
hear
have an equity initiative, and during the presentation in January, it says social economics is one of the initiatives that we want to make sure that everybody has an equal playing field, so if someone may be, how to say, uncomfortable sharing their financial situation or may not hear this meeting, might not know that they need, if their child they can't afford it, they may not be able to go take the bus and actually have to cross Broadway? Wouldn't that be, at least can they be sent a letter that says if you have financial problems or financial difficulty, you can reach out to us and we will review your case? Is that way something we can actually add to the letter, just to make sure that everybody is able to do it if they can, if they need to?
So okay, you got, okay, so that shouldn't be a problem, right? You add that to the email?
Yeah, we'll be happy to add that to the letter, just if they have an issue, that they could reach out to us.
Okay, great. I have another question. F6E. Can you please, I'm a math teacher, just as an FYI, and I've been, I've been a math teacher for the past 12 years, and I've been a high school math teacher for the past 12 years. Just as a rationale, just a side note, can you please provide the rationale why a math class need a Promethean board in the high school, even though we have a smart board? And if you can please explain why, if there was any surveys to see if the teachers are actually using the smart boards that are currently in, and see the cons of actually having the smart board. Because as a math teacher, there's several cons that I see of having a smart board in the high school, the Promethean board. Why are we changing, and why do we need to spend $74,000 on that?
Well, we're changing because the smart board is 20-year-old technology. The Prometheans, from what I understand, are better in a number of ways for teaching. I can't explain it to you. I know they brought it up the other night at the meeting, but eventually all the smart boards are going to go by the wayside. So we're starting with the Promethean boards in the math department, and through the years we'll be putting them into other buildings.
With all due respect, in a high school math class, you want multiple kids at the board at the same time. That's one way of teaching. And when you have a smart board, it's impossible. It's one person at one time. So that actually limits.
It also, Brooke, just remind me, it's better for the one-to-one initiative that we have at the high school. You want to talk? Nick will talk about the educational benefits.
So over the last couple of years, we rolled out these beautiful 3190 devices that you can see here as a one-to-one initiative. The device flips over, you could write on it, you could touch it, you could use it. They're especially great for the high school, particularly math classes. And I understand that you're a math teacher. The smart boards that are outdated and on the fritz and are breaking at this point, some of the oldest ones are in our math departments, so we're replacing them with Promethean boards. And it allows it to be more interactive and allows the teachers to drive instruction and just, with 21st century technology skills, just a little bit better. So we're replacing the old, outdated smart boards with new, updated Promethean boards, which work really well with the one-to-one initiative that we have here in Fair Lawn High School.
Are they touchscreen?
Yes, both of them. And it allows the students to cast right to there. So they could be writing on here, and you see it actually live on the board at the same time. So yes, they're both touchscreen, the 3190 and the Promethean board.
Also, were the teachers ever involved in this decision? Meaning, were they surveyed? Did they ask if they needed this, if this would be helpful for them? Did anybody survey the teachers?
What was the question? Yes, yeah, of course they were, yes.
And there was surveys conducted by the administration?
I don't know if a formal survey went out, but it was discussed with the faculty, and as Brooke said, they we're happy to get new technology.
Nobody's complained so far.
With all due respect, it's very hard to complain to your boss about the technology that spends a lot of money by taxpayers. But okay, page 34, FG. Is there a limit on how many cases that each behavioral health
Which one, which item?
It's the Care Plus and the ESS. Is there a limit how many cases that each behavioral health service provider has?
Yes, yes, there is. It's part of the bid process and the contract. There are limits.
And what is the limit?
I'll have to email that to you and get back to you.
One more thing, how about if we have, because of the pandemic, we have more students that need our help, that need help and mental health, how is that going to be addressed?
I couldn't understand you.
Because of COVID and some students might need more mental health services than what we project, how are, since there's a cap of how many caseloads that each counselor or social worker or what happens if we hit the max and we still need help?
Yeah, so if there is an issue at times where we're at cap, if you want to call it that,
I don't know how to
for the
say
case
that.
managers, we do revisit that, and at times throughout the year, we come back to the board and say we think we need to, increase a mental health clinician here or there. Our mental health initiative in the district is a 3-tier mental health initiative, and the first tier is more is really done with our guidance counselors, our child study team, our student assistance counselors. Our second tier is more students coming in, a little bit more intensive. So it's a little bit more of a revolving door. Students come in, get the services they need. They may be there for 2 months or so, and then may wraparound program transition back out. Could be a little bit longer, shorter. Our tier 3 is a more intensive mental health service for the most at-risk students we have, which involves individual counseling, group counseling, family counseling. So, the students that are most at risk, the cap size is a little bit lower due to the fact that they're spending so much time with these students. With that being said, we've increased our mental health clinicians coming out of the post-pandemic, hopefully post-pandemic, but we've increased our mental health clinicians this year using federal funds that we received to help with the COVID after effect. So we're pretty comfortable right now. We think we're going to be in a good place. But if we feel that students are at cap, we're never going to turn a student away, we will bring that back to the board and look to increase if we need to.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. Will there be surveys from parents, teachers, and students on Care Plus and ESS, the effectiveness of the program? I know that in 2008, some board members have voiced that when they renewed this contract initially. So I was just wondering, will there be surveys?
Rita, can you speak under the mic with
I'm
microphone
trying.
under?
I'm sorry. I'm really trying.
We can't.
I'm sorry. I'm trying my hardest.
They project like this, but we're behind the speaker.
Sorry. Okay, let me ask. I'm sorry. Also, will there be surveys from parents, teachers, and students on the effectiveness of the Care Plus and ESS this year? Is there any plans for that? Just to make sure that if we can maybe tweak it or change it or maybe do something else to make sure that it serves the community in the best possible way.
I know that there is a lot of parental involvement and family involvement with these providers, but we'll look into that with ESS and Care Plus on where the feedback comes from.
I think they do, but I don't know if, I know that they do because I think one board member said that they do provide surveys, but I'm not sure if it's given to the central office. That's what I'm just curious. If you are you provided any survey respect?
I couldn't understand everything. Okay, well, hold on a minute. All right, Rita, I'll give you some more time later, but Julie, you wanted to say something?
I can't speak as a staff member because I don't work here, but I can speak as a parent that several Care Plus surveys went out. As a parent, I know that several Care Plus surveys went out asking about the services provided and the effectiveness of those services at different parts of the school year.
I'm just curious if the administration actually gets the results so they can understand.
Rita, you're over your time. You're over your time. And I think that answered your question. All right, any other board members? Questions, comments? Vlad?
First, just to clarify, if I may ask this question, May I ask a question about the job description? The
You
BA
can
job
ask a question
description.
about the job description.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So, right now it says that the evaluation will be in accordance with the law and the provisions of the board's policy on the evaluation and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm sorry, let me start from here. It says, performance of this position will be evaluated annually in accordance with the law and the provisions of the board's policy on evaluation of certificated personnel and the administrative procedures on certificated staff evaluation. I believe we do not have specific policies for certificate personnel. Instead, we have two specific policies for evaluating business administrator and board secretary. So I suggest, maybe up for discussion or a motion, to put a period here and make this paragraph evaluation,
What page are we on?
job description of business
I
administrator.
know, what page are we on in our book?
Oh,
It got sent home in an email. Vlad, you said you wanted to ask a question. We're not going to rewrite the job description. You wanted to ask a question. You didn't, we don't write the job description. The administration does that. All right? That's their job. You want to ask a question about it, go right ahead. But we're not going to start, marking up job descriptions.
okay, then let me pose in the form of a question. Which policies does this refer to? It says, in according to board's policy, which policy is this references to?
Nick, you're looking at it? Nick's going to look at it on the computer. Hold on a second.
But if it's okay with you, I would like to look into it and take a little further time and then send it to the full board.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Vlad? Thank you. Other board members? Mr.
Vla-
Singh?
And
Oh.
real quick, Vlad, if you could just reference that to me, if you don't mind, shoot me an email and show me exactly what you're looking at. I'll look into it as well. I just want to make sure I get the right sentence that you're looking at.
I sent an email, though late.
Is that one? Okay.
Yeah.
got it. Thank you.
Mr. Santana?
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Board President. First, just want to say welcome to Mr. Comino on board.
Thank you.
You're welcome. On P6E as an elephant, page 25, I just want to confirm, before care aides will receive a 2% raise as long as they are returning staff. Am I right?
That's correct.
Thank you. I'm very happy to see this on the agenda. P6F, Paul 6, Frank, for the business administrator job description, I would like to know how and when do we, as a board, determine the experience? And I'm quoting from the job description. Minimum experience as determined by the board. So how and when do we establish that as a board?
You know, it's quite common, actually, to be in a job description, a statement like that. That's actually right from New Jersey school boards, their template job description, as well as many neighboring districts and districts across the state. That's not what our previous job description had said. So, you know, if you're so restrictive with 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, you could kind of paint yourself into a corner a little bit with applicants. So that gives us a little latitude of looking at the resume and feeling like, okay, this person may have the experience that we're looking at as a board as I make the recommendation as superintendent to the Board of Education. So it gives us a little leeway, and it's right in line with what New Jersey School Boards recommends as well.
The reason for my question is because if the minimum experience is determined by the board, then the board will have the right to determine what is the minimum experience. Am I right or wrong? Maybe the attorney can provide some legal
No,
opinion.
you're right. You are right. If we don't like the amount of experience this person has, then we can say that person doesn't have enough experience.
Thank you. F6D, Frank 6 Day. Page 33. You know, I had some comments prepared about this, but after hearing a resident speak on this, you know, as a person, I had to walk a very long distance to high school myself because my mother didn't have money for a bus. I am not very happy about taking away a benefit that people used to have back in the days. And I have a legal question. Can people from that side of the neighborhood be grandfathered in legally? Can they have a grandfather through the chair, Mr. Comino? Is there a grandfather privilege for people that used to reside in that part of the town based on what a member of the community stated? I just want to make sure that what we're doing is legal.
I believe it is, but I'll let Mr. Comegno tell you that it's legal or not.
Good evening. Thanks for your question. I think this issue of grandfathering, first we would have to establish that that individual participated in some type of courtesy busing. And it's not my understanding that that exists now. It sounds like that might have existed 30, 40, maybe 50 years ago. So I don't think that the concept on its face applies right now.
Okay, noted. I would like to know if it's legal for us to do the following for F6D. You know, I believe in finding solutions to a problem. We have a problem right now. And we have an equity initiative in the district. You know, in the spirit of equity, you know, I think we should provide, this is my opinion as a board member, I think we should provide assistance to those who are in free and reduced lunch. We should provide an assistant for them to be able to take this bus to get to school. Would that be, you know, if you are within the federal poverty rate, I think we need to provide equity for all students. And the cost of almost $700, I think the cost is an obstacle for people in the poverty line, and we need to remove those barriers. Is it legal through the chair for us to provide equity by providing some assistance of a lower rate to those who are free and reduced lunch for this busing?
I think that the question before was the same, and what we said was if somebody is in a free or reduced lunch, or if they're just having a very difficult time financially, they can contact the superintendent, and we will look at it on a case-by-case basis to just take a blanket, you know, these 50 people don't have to pay, or these 50 people are going to get a discount. I think that's a mistake, and I think the administration's response and solution is if you have a legitimate financial issue, we will be glad to help you out if we can.
Is that, I didn't hear anything from the superintendent. Is that what the district intend to do, Mr. Norcia?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. F6I, Frank 6 Igloo, page 36. The item does not specify which grade levels will receive the Chromebooks. Is this for middle school students, Mr. Norcia?
Sorry. What? I know which.
Page 39,
Page
F-
39.
Chromebooks.
F6I, page 36.
It's 39 on this.
In our book.
Oh, 39? Okay,
Yes.
I apologize.
That's the Chromebooks you're talking about.
Yes, is this for middle school? Am I correct?
Yes and no. And I'm going to say that because, yes, it's to complete the whole entire middle school, but because several of the middle school students had borrowed devices during COVID, the extra devices that we have, we're going to put down into the elementary classrooms so that we have suffice amount at the elementary school while we still determine what we're going to do at one-to-one at the elementary levels.
Thank you. I think that was very useful because the public may have gotten confused, like I was a little bit confused. S3C, Sam 3 Cat, page 9. Disregard that. That was already addressed. E1, page 10. E1,
Page 11.
I apologize, page 11, E1, the training to the NJSBA. We pay the New Jersey School Board Association almost $30,000 a year in dues. I think it would be wise for our board to in future years to try to negotiate the cost of this training, because we're already paying almost $30,000 in dues to the New Jersey School Board Association. P1, Mr. North, through the chair, Mr. North, do all candidates hold the proper certificate if required?
They would, I'll answer that. They wouldn't be on the agenda if they didn't.
Okay. P4, am I allowed to ask this question? I don't know if we have to go to closed session, but it's on the agenda. Can I ask a question about one of the candidates?
No.
About the action that is on the agenda.
You want to ask a question about a candidate?
Okay.
That's a personnel matter that we can't discuss here.
I would prefer we didn't.
Then how can my question be answered?
You could have emailed the superintendent about this
I-
particular candidate.
I didn't have the question before. I came up with the question today.
Hold on a second. You can abstain or vote no, but you can't discuss personnel in a public meeting. It just can't be done.
No, I know that. I will. Can we go into closed session for 5 minutes? For 5-10 minutes?
No.
Why not? I would like to make a motion for that.
Make a motion. Go
I would like to make a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel.
A P4 you want to talk about?
Yeah, I have a question about P4.
Okay, so make your motion.
Okay, again, I would like to make a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel,
Now discuss P4.
to discuss P4,
Yeah,
P4,
just pay P4. That's fine.
P4.
Okay, that's your motion. Okay, call a roll, please.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Santana, seconded by Ms. Favelovich, to recess into closed session at 8:14 PM. Mr. Barbarulo. Ms. Favelovich.
Yes.
Mr. Itkin.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan.
No.
Ms. Quackenbush.
No.
Mr. Rosenberg.
No.
Mr. Santana.
Yes.
Mr. Spindell.
Yes.
And Mr. Banta.
No. Okay, Julie, you had your hand up?
I did. So I had a concern about the statements made in regards to everyone's focus on subscription busing and equity. So we're also focused on busing. If we're thinking truly equitable, then if you're going to consider providing a subsidized cost for subscription busing, then we may need to consider providing a reduced cost for people who receive free and reduced lunch for early and after care too. So if we're really thinking in the light of equitability, then we need to think of every single child in the district, which, let's be very careful here, because is going to really potentially put us at a disadvantage monetarily. So when we consider providing equitability and whether or not we truly understand the definition of equitability, we're thoughtful to every single child in the district. So I'm going to ask that when you guys are now looking at subscription busing, please look at before and after care,
Thank you, Julie.
which is C1B, so it is on the agenda.
Okay. I'm sure that in the light of equity, that, again, if there is a true need for a person to have a reduced fee for before and after care, they can contact the superintendent.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure
Okay.
that this wasn't just about subscription
Okay,
busing.
no.
We are thinking of all 5,600 plus children in our district. We are not just thinking about the students who receive the subscription busing. If we're going to be equitable, let's consider everyone. I am asking that we consider every single child in the district and their needs, and that would include any child who may require subsidized costs for early and after care or subscription busing. It should be for every child. It can't just be about a fight for subscription busing at this point. There are 5,600 children in this district.
Thank you, Julie. Any other board members on agenda items? Mike?
A couple things. First of all, can I just ask a question about the whole, if we had gone into closed session, correct me if I'm wrong, we wouldn't have been able to talk about any of these people because they weren't riced. Am I right?
They were riced.
They were riced?
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize then. As far as the subscription busing and the before and after care that Julie was just talking about, that's on the agenda, but I'm just going to say other things too. I am a person that always thinks of unintended consequences to everything we do. And the unintended consequence of lowering fees for certain people, I understand the equity point, and I understand that we're going to try and work with people that can't afford it, but what's going to happen is we're going to overload possibly before and after care to where we can't offer it. Or the price of before and after care is going to have to go up for people that can afford it, and that wouldn't be fair to them, or there wouldn't be enough spaces for those people. So I always look at unintended consequences, and I believe the administration when they say that they are willing to listen to people that have a hardship. And this district has always done that, as far as I know, since I've been on the board. And I appreciate their answer. And, you know, and as far as the people that we are hiring, I believe the administration would never, ever hire someone that doesn't have the proper credentials to work in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any other board members who have not spoken? Okay, round two. Mr. Santana.
Going back to equity for S3C and
Page.
busing, and the busing item on the agenda. Equity is not a point. Equity is about inclusion, and inclusion matters. You know, I know myself as a person the benefit of equity, and if we are going to have, when we speak about equity, it's not like this is not an initiative that the district already has. The district has an equity initiative. We have an equity plan being updated that is on the agenda. So it's not something that is in the mind of just a few board members, and we just want to have this during the board meeting. This is something that affects the life of every child. And like a board member stated, we need to provide equity to all children, okay? But we need to make the tough decisions. And part of making the tough decisions is when we see something that is not fair to all students, we need to make sure that we provide equity. And equity is a good word. It's not a bad word. I love equity, and we need a lot of more equity in our district. Thank you, Mr. Board President.
Thank you, Mrs. Santana. Any other board members? Rita?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better.
I have a question. Since the school gets federal funds, this is a question for the attorney. Can we provide, can we not provide free or reduced for busing? Can we just give it the strong, like the top rate, or do we have to lower it for free or reduced busing if we get federal funds?
John, I don't think we have to, but John?
Good evening. I would take a step back and I would encourage the board to be mindful, and I don't know this, but I would assume that there are charged costs for members of the community. We've heard about a couple already that go beyond simply busing, before and after care. I don't know what other pay-to-play, if you will, for certain services, extracurricular activities, sports, parking, etc. I would encourage the board to be mindful of consistency in pulling out any single line item or issue or item in talking about reducing. So I would encourage the board to be consistent. And you're having a genuine conversation about this, which is wonderful. Does the board have to reduce based on some characterization? And I would also caution the board in talking about a certain subset with a label, particularly when we talk about the concept of equity. But if we're talking about certain folks that are defined by this label of free and reduced, and I hesitate to do that, but that's the question and how the conversation's been framed. Is the board compelled to reduce costs, charged, pay to play, et cetera, for those folks that are eligible based on that criteria? I think the answer is no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Let's go through the agenda. S1 through S3. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, I missed G. Sorry. Well, do S, and we'll go back to G.
I did not get a second.
Mr.
Second. Second.
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Okay.
Spindell seconded.
All right, doesn't matter. All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes.
Ms. Favelovich,
Yes.
Mr. Itkin,
Yes.
Ms. Mahan, Mrs. Mahan, Ms. Quackenbush, Mr. Santana,
This is on G1 and G2, right?
No, well, I skipped that by mistake. It's S.
S1 to
S1 to
S3.
S3.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
and Mr. Banta.
Yes, all right. Sorry,
You
G1 and
forgot
G2.
Mr. Spindell, who voted yes. I'm still a member.
Sorry, Mark. I seem to not be able to hear you from this angle.
Okay, G1 and G2. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Just do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
All opposed?
I need to abstain from the work session and the executive close on June 17th.
Okay, thank you.
I need to abstain from the June 17th meeting.
Okay, E1 to E3. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
I have a
Oh,
motion.
you have to abstain.
I'm
What?
sorry. I have a motion by Mr. Rosenberg, seconded by Mr. Santana.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and this is the tennis in Atlantic City. Well, it's not in Atlantic City, it's virtual. But you have to abstain on your own name. I just want to remind you.
Mr. Itkin,
E1, abstain on myself, yes on everything else.
Ms. Quackenbush,
E1, abstain on myself, yes on everything else.
Mr. Santana,
Yes on everything else. On E1, I am not listed on the agenda for the conference. However, I am going to abstain.
abstaining on E1, yes on E2 and E3.
No.
That's correct.
I'm voting yes on everything
Except for
except
E1.
E1, the conference, the New Jersey School Board Association conference. I'm abstaining on it.
Okay.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes on everything, abstain on E1 for my name.
Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes on everything, abstain on my name, E1.
Ms. Favelovich,
Yes, and abstain on my name. For
Mrs.
E1.
Mahan,
Yes on everything, abstaining on my name on E1.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes on everything, abstaining on my name on E1.
Mr. Banta.
Yes on everything, abstain on my name on E1. Okay. Wait a minute. Sorry.
Question, Mr. President, quick question. On the E1 conference, since everybody abstained, the conference is still happening, right?
Yeah, we just abstained on ourselves. So
Okay.
there was other votes for us. We just didn't vote
Okay, I
for
just want to make
ourselves.
sure my vote
Yeah, no-
didn't affect
Oh, no,
the
no, no.
conference. I
No,
want to
you're
make sure the
fine.
conference happens. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
is Wilkins' name isn't on there. Can it be added to it?
No.
No, he doesn't, he wanted his name
Oh,
off.
he was.
Yeah,
you
no, it
weren't
wasn't
going-
it wasn't a
okay.
mistake.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, P1 through P6.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Spindell, seconded by Mr.
Wasn't by
Rosenberg.
me.
It was by Ron.
Sorry, Ron, I can't.
We're having a rough
I
day
can't
today with
hear.
me.
I can't hear over here. I'm sorry. And I have not developed eyes on the side of my head yet. I have to hang out by the Passaic River a little more. Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mr. Santana,
P4A, poll for Apple, abstain, yes on everything else. That's
She got it.
I got
P4A.
it. Yeah, P4A.
You got it, right?
Thank you. Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Itkin,
Abstain on P5C like cat, items M like middle 16, and HS 15.
you're abstaining on P5C,
P5C, M like Mary,
M like Mary,
16, and
HS15?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Favelovich,
I'm going to be abstaining on P5C as in Charlie, M16, and HS15.
okay, thank you. And Mr. Banta.
Yes.
Mr. I did ask.
We forget somebody again?
I did. I'm using check marks.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Ro-
SE1 to SE3, could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
I don't know, there was like 8 people making that
I
motion.
have a motion by Mr. Rosenberg, seconded by Mrs. Mahan.
Only because I was louder than Mark.
Okay, could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes.
Mr. Santana,
29.
Mr. Itkin.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Itkin,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Ms. Favelovich,
Yes.
and Mr. Banta.
Yes. Have a motion for C1, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mr. Santana,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes.
Mr. Itkin,
Yes.
Ms. Favelovich,
We're doing F right now, or S?
C.
C1.
C.
Yes, then, yes. I'm sorry.
Mr. Banta.
Yes, I just want to, I should have said this before, point out to the public, there's no increase in before or after school childcare. Same prices as last year and the year before. I can have a motion for F1 through F.
Move it.
So moved.
Second.
F6, okay, thank you. Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Favelovich,
No on F6E. Everything else, yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mr. Itkin,
Abstain on F6E. Yes on everything else.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes.
Mr. Santana,
Abstaining on F6E. Yes on everything else.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. All right, that concludes the agenda portion of the meeting. Now open the floor up to the audience to speak on other business. You just approach, state your name and your street, but not your house address.
Lisa Yorman, 66 Nottingham Road. I was surprised yesterday to receive a letter in the mail addressed to myself and written as Dear Board. Since I am a former board member, there was a little confusion. Being a former board member, I know there's some things that can't be said in front of the public. I will abide by that rule, but I do have a couple of questions with regard to the letter. And if you don't mind, I have to put my glasses on and off to see. Have you, just for curiosity, has everybody seen this letter?
We've seen the letter.
Okay. In reference to a paragraph, it talks about whether the superintendent was involved in...
Yes, hold on a second. The attorney has something to say.
Ma'am, excuse
Yep.
me.
Yeah.
If we could stop the clock, because she's on my time now, and I want to afford
that, sir.
the resident her time. I want to caution you, this is a public forum. We celebrate your First Amendment right to speak. You've identified yourself as a former board member, so you've received training on that. But I want to caution you against making any kind of comment which might be defamatory or slanderous or otherwise false, which may affect the reputation of any individual. You haven't identified anyone, but I think that likely folks that are listening can identify, and you just used a title, okay? So I want to caution you against making a defamatory comment. We respect your right to speak, but again, we're not going to permit this forum to be a forum used for defamation or libel or slander, okay?
Agree.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You can start the
Thank
clock.
you. I appreciate that. So I'm just referring to the letter and the questions that were asked in the letter. So I'm asking just questions as opposed to, I'm not going outside a question versus answer situation. So with the reopening plan, who were the people that, I'm going to rephrase what I said before. So was a reopening plan that was presented to the community, who was involved with the plan of the reopening?
Yeah, John, please.
At the risk of speaking too much. And again, as a former board member, you understand this is public comment, right? It's not public question and answer, it's public comment. And I'll concede I'm the latest off the turnip truck, so I don't know exactly what the practice is, but I would encourage the board, particularly in light of the sensitivity of this issue, to permit the speaker to say what she'd like. If she wants to ask questions, she can ask. When she is done, if appropriate, those questions may be answered. Otherwise, I would caution against, particularly in light of the subject matter, any type of question and answer. And I direct that to Mr. President. Thank you.
So we'll make it quite simple. I'm very concerned about what was written in the letter. There were many statements that were made that may or may not be true. I don't know that. I assume that I received this letter because in the letter it states that it's being shared with other stakeholders in town, and it does reference the superintendent's car, which is obviously, as all board members are aware, there is charges within OAL and the Ethics Commission. So that is probably why I received the letter. Again, it caused me, great shock that I even got this in the mail. So let me ask you a question as far as social distancing, and that was brought up within this letter. Social distancing has always been 6 feet. Was it ever changed from the time that it was instituted at the beginning until now?
Mrs. Yeoman, I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna respond to anything in the letter. It was an anonymous letter. I'm not gonna respond to any of the comments therein.
All right, so I'm just going to ask the question then. From the time COVID started until now, has social distancing, 6 feet of social distancing changed during that time period?
The attorney's telling me, let you get all your questions out, and then we'll answer them one by one. If appropriate.
And when discussing the plans, phase 1, phase 2, were there nurses that were involved within and teachers involved as part of the plans, each of the plans? Or we'll keep it simple, were there nurses involved in the discussion of the plans and how they were going to be implemented? How many OPA requests do you receive within a month? That's a question. A couple of months ago, there was an audit that was done, and the audit said that there was a surplus that could be returned to the residents of, or the property owners of, in Fairlawn. I don't remember the number. I didn't get a chance to actually find out what it was, but could that money be used to subsidize busing or before care, after care, and anything to do with equity? Because they said, the auditor said during the meeting that that money was in excess. Or that's the impression I got. I'm just saying, I got the impression it was in excess and it could be sent back to the residents. And I'll end it there.
Okay. Not going to talk about the car because that's in litigation. Sorry? Okay. Social distancing, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, it was 6 feet and then it was reduced to 3 feet. Am I correct about that? Okay. So at some point it was 6 feet and then at some point it was 3 feet. So yes, it was changed. Plans for reopening, yes, the nurses and the staff were all involved. Everybody had a say. How many Oprah requests in a month? I have no clue. We'd have to look. I'm assuming, I'm guessing it's, X on this month and Y on this month, so I don't know what the average is. I really don't. We can find out. And the surplus, yes, there is a surplus. There's fund balance that, thanks to the state of state of New Jersey and the federal government, they gave us money, and it's in surplus. And when the administration prepares the budget, they'll make a recommendation what to do with it.
Talking about the surplus that the auditor talked about during his presentation.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Any other members of the audience? It's open mic night, so come on down. Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Julie, turning to the board members now.
Sorry, I'm going to turn my phone on just so I can be specific about what I wanted to share. So Fair Lawn for All Ages is a community-based committee, and they currently have a number of youth, many of which are students of our school district, who are providing assistance to Fair Lawn seniors to do light yard work and other things around the house outdoors. So I'd really like to encourage anyone who knows of seniors in our town who need support and help to reach out to Lisa McClements at Fair Lawn for All Ages. And what I will do is provide her phone number, which is 201-777-6135. And the email is FL4AllAges2020@gmail.com. This is a great opportunity for seniors in our community, and also an amazing opportunity that our youth age students are doing to support our community.
Okay, thank you, Julie. That's a great program. Mark?
Yes, excuse me. Being a member of the Fair Lawn Alliance and Substance Abuse and being the liaison for the board for this, I just wanted to bring to the attention of parents a special program that's going to be held in September. It seems that with the pandemic, we've taken, we have not really recognized the seriousness of vaping, which we once did before the pandemic. So I wanted to bring to the attention that there is a special program that is being held on September 14th. It is free. It is for all parents. It is an excellent program. It is a speaker who is well known by the name of Timothy Shoemaker. I request that if you want to find out more information regarding this particular program, please contact Carol Wagner. Carol Wagner is the Director of Health and Human Services for the borough, and her number is 201-794-5327. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Rita?
Hello, can you hear me? I was wondering, the technology audit, when will the board receive an update list of what is accomplished and what is not accomplished?
I will get back to you on that. We did discuss that with our technology department. We will get back to you on that.
Okay, question number 2. When and if the board received an update on the progress of the 5-year district plan?
I think the fall would be a good time for us to revisit that when we regroup with all of our administrators.
Okay, so in the fall, we'll get an update, the board will get an update of some sort?
Yeah, I think we could put something together for either one of our committees or a committee of the whole or where we are, but
If
yeah.
it could be the whole, I would really appreciate it, because I would like to be able to know what's going on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita. Any other board members? Mr. Santana?
Thank you, Mr. Banta. I would like to know, when will the demographic study be ready for the board to see?
It's, we're going to do it in October?
I'll follow
What
up
now,
with
point?
Dr. Richard Grip from Statistical Forecasting and see, and I'll get back to everybody. We know he did he completed the abridged version for us to include Radburn crossings when we were eliminating soft borders, policy 5120. Not that we eliminated the policy, but the word soft borders from it. That was right after the holidays because we rewrote it in March. So we'll circle back with him now that we're coming out of the pandemic and report back to the board.
Thank you for that very comprehensive response. I'm too not worried or concerned, but I am thinking about the 5-year strategic plan, and I'm glad the board will receive you just stated that the board will receive an update. I participated in the 5-year strategic plan as a resident before I got on the board. So those of you who are in attendance, that once we do the process, that will be a great thing for members of the community, not just parents, everyone to get involved. It's very, very rewarding. And when I did it, that's one of the main reasons, besides the fact that my daughter is a student in our school, that I ran for the school board. I would like to add a topic to personnel, but am I allowed to bring the topic? The topic? Not that topic. Any topic. I have a few topics.
Well, considering that there's a little trepidation in your voice on whether or not you should or shouldn't, maybe it would be best if you
When
just
in doubt,
emailed
don't.
it to
Okay.
us.
That's why I'm asking. To the chair, Mr. Superintendent, in light of the fact that we are having the 101 initiative for the middle school, not only as a board member, but I'm also a teacher and a parent. Will the district need to provide professional development for middle school for our middle school staff for this 101 initiative, and is that in the pipeline?
Yes.
Thank you.
And you may see something on the August agenda that relates to that, and we'll probably be bringing it up through the committee as well. We spoke about it yesterday.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that. Also, I would like to request that we have an executive session at the soonest possible time to discuss personnel at the soonest possible time.
We're actually having a closed session tonight.
Okay. Oh,
There is a closed session tonight.
okay. I know there's no civics classes in our curriculum. If I'm wrong, we have a formal civics course. It's part of the curriculum. But there's an election this year. It's very important for citizens to register to vote. A lot of people don't know the civic process and the civic duty, and there is a vacancy. My term is up this
Now,
year.
Mr. Santana, I
and I
really
would
don't
like
want to
people-
talk about board of education elections. You want
No,
to
I'm
talk
not talking about election. I'm
You
saying
said there's a
we
vacancy.
we want our children to learn civics. So I would like the community to be aware that there is going to be a vacancy on the school board, so they make sure that they know about it in case they want to be one of us, and that they register to vote. That's a civic duty, and we should promote that as a board.
I agree. I just don't want to
You
talk
don't
about
have a problem with
I don't
that,
want to
right?
talk about our election. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not talking about any election. I'm talking about registering to vote and the civic duty. Why is that a problem for you?
That's not a problem. It's when you start talking about, sign up and run for the board. I'm
No,
not sure that.
I said my term is up this year, and I would like the community to get involved.
Okay, all right,
What is
okay.
the big deal about that? We should promote civics as a board. And lastly, two more things. We have not had, as a board, we have not received any minutes from your committee, Mr. Banta, the shared services. I have sent you several topics for shared services, and I would like to know when is the shared services committee going to meet, because we haven't seen any minutes, anything.
Well, there was no minutes because there was no meeting. So I
Why?
can't say. Could I finish?
Yes.
Thank you. We have not had a meeting with them in the past 16 months because of COVID. Prior to that, there was really nothing to meet about. We have been in touch with the borough, and we're going to put some items on an agenda. I have your ideas. If the borough wants to discuss them, perhaps we can. But we're hoping in September, October to have the meeting.
Lastly, two things. I just want to commend the superintendent and the district. I saw a beautiful landscape at one of our schools, a very beautiful part of the landscape. And I just want to, I don't want to single the particular school right now, but I just want to commend the superintendent on that because I see some steps in the right direction to give some, lift the spirit up of our landscape because, we want to bring some smiles in our community. And lastly, I would like to see if the district, because we have the Safe Route to School program, if we are going to be promoting walking and biking to school in preparation for September, Mr. Norcia? Okay, that's great. I biked to this meeting today, and I would like to see more parents and more community members not going with their big SUVs to the school if you live nearby, but rather walking and biking to school because that way we will improve the traffic and we will teach something great to our children, which is to walk and bike to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santana. Mike.
Wilkin, just so you know, I have recently seen the new social studies standards that just came out for not this year, for next year, but you'll be happy to know that it was very civic laden, that they added a lot of civics to it. There's an answer to your civics question. I neglected last month to speak about our grounds crew and the yeoman's job they did for every moving up ceremony, and the graduation at the high school. Our grounds, because I attended every single one of them, and our grounds had never looked better, and they had to literally, on a daily basis, have 2 schools ready with sound equipment, chairs, etc., moved from one school to the next to make sure, because there was two moving up ceremonies every day. So I want to really thank our groundskeepers because they did and everyone involved in the sound too, because it was just an incredible job. It was really nice because they were all outside due to COVID, but it was really nice to have them outside. So I think the parents really appreciated it, and it was nice to see something positive come out of what we've all been going through this year. The last thing I want to say is that we say a lot of things here up on the board, and we make a lot of decisions. This year was an incredibly difficult year for the whole country. It was unprecedented, the pandemic. And the pandemic took over everything and everything we did. And I really honestly think that we have to really keep this in mind when we're deciding, when we're saying this wasn't done, this wasn't done. We were in the middle of a pandemic, a global pandemic, and that pandemic is still with us, and it could actually, who knows what's happening. It seems to be coming back a little bit. So I really think that as a board, we need to appreciate our administration, our teachers, and our parents for all the sacrifices that were made this year on behalf of our children, because it was a yeoman's job, and we, I think we did it. And everybody might not agree with what the outcome was. It was probably 50-50. So, you know, I said from the beginning of this whole thing last March, I said that everyone's not going to agree with what we do because it affected everyone in a different way. So we did the best we can, and hopefully this year the pandemic will come to an end, I hope.
Thank you, Mike. Any other board members who haven't spoken? Anybody else? Okay. Seeing none, what's the next board meeting, Brooke?
We have a special action meeting on August 5th,
Isn't that going to get changed? Or is that the date?
the bid for the
Oh,
10th,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
And then
So
regular monthly meeting, August 26th.
August 26th,
6th.
okay, thank you. That being said, I would like to thank everyone for coming, and I need a motion to recess into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Why don't we take 5 minutes?